It's anti-intellectualism.
Well,
and that is what's taken over the party. This sort of it's almost as, there's almost a disdain with some in Trump world that are like, yeah, okay, so the college-educated crowd isn't for it.
This doesn't look like an attempt to serve citizens. This looks like an attempt to only serve the lead propagandist. It feels like we've reached a level of crazy in this White House, and it's difficult to take it anymore. Every one of my colleagues on this network grounds their arguments with facts. I have no doubt they have a point of view, but they ground it in facts.
Well, that was NBC's so-called neutral, objective, always objective anchor Chuck Todd taking shots at Trump over what? His supporters also over the past couple of years. And in a new piece in The Atlantic, he gets around. Mr. Todd advocates for journalists to fight back against conservative claims of bias. Bring it on, Chuck. Let me get this straight. While NBC is embroiled in multiple scandals, including completely blowing it on the Weinstein sexual assault story, Chuck Todd is telling Fox and others how to handle its business? Nice try. Joining me now with a reaction, conservative radio talk show host, Fox News contributor Tammy Bruce, and Chris Hahn, a liberal radio talk show host and former aide to Senator Chuck Schumer. All right, Tammy, take it away. I find this to be rich. I mean, it's nice to have a byline in The Atlantic. I get that. And taking shots at Fox is something of a cottage industry out there. But how much credibility right at this moment does NBC have?
Well, not much at all, and I think this is their breaking point. But it's also not an accident that this is also just before the midterms, of course. But let's look at Chuck Todd. In the Podesta emails that were leaked by WikiLeaks, we found that he had been inviting people to a party that Chuck Todd was having at his home for Jennifer Palmieri, a major aide for Hillary Clinton. And this is where, in their private lives, how they all network together. But he's arguing now that going 24/7 against the President of the United States is not enough. They now want to go 24/7 against Fox News. That's what he's advocating for, in the midst of wondering why no one trusts the legacy media. And it's because they're untrustworthy. You can actually see a Gallup poll tracks the trustworthiness that media enjoys. And when Fox News began in 1996, the trustworthy index went up. It went up for a number of years. And what you can see when major events have occurred, that when the American trust mechanism, the quotient for the media, starts to go down on major events, like after September 11th and other dynamics. So you can just see, they can fight back. Chuck Todd says in this piece he wants to fight back. He can fight back by actually doing his job.
Yeah, do reporting.
Instead of creating, these campaigns against people and blaming everyone other than himself.
Yeah, it's classic blame shifting, and we all know it's kind of easy to blame other people when you've made mistakes, and we all do it. But this is now at the point where, Chris Hahn, I think they see that Fox, most nights, most of the time, is blowing the other networks out in the ratings. Not always, but we do pretty well. Instead of having an actual debate on the issues, it's Trump's bad, Fox is bad, Fox hosts are bad. Meanwhile, Ronan Farrow releases a statement last night about what NBC had claimed, Chris, about this Weinstein coverage, saying, well, wasn't adequately sourced, that's why we didn't go with Ronan's reporting. He says this last night: executives there have now produced a memo that contains numerous false and misleading statements. So I'll say briefly, their list of sources is incomplete, omits women who were either identified in the NBC story or offered to be. The suggestion to take the story to another outlet was first raised by NBC, not me, and I took them up on it after it became clear that I was being blocked from further reporting. The story was twice cleared and deemed reportable by legal and standards, only to be blocked by executives who refused to allow us to seek comment from Harvey Weinstein. So covering up, it looks like, for a pal of the network or pal of the executives, and now lecturing Fox? Get out of town. Your reaction.
Well, look, I mean, I think anyone who helps and assists somebody cover up the kind of behavior that Harvey Weinstein participated in, needs to be dealt with. I don't know that extends to Chuck Todd. He's allowed to have an opinion on other things that is separate from what the executive brass may have done to cover up some bad behavior. It happens all over the place. It happens there. And I will say this, though, about his article. I read it. I read every word of it. There are some things in it I agree with. There's some things I disagree with it. One thing is that there are rebuttals on Fox. I rebut at least 3 times a week on this network, and I think I do a pretty good job of it. And but you know, there are kernels of truth in it, and especially where he says conservatives want to steer away from issues and go towards wedge issues and symbolic issues. And it really did start a long time ago, long before Fox existed. I think that the conservative movement in this country was very small. I think it's grown because it's been able to exploit those wedge issues much better than Democrats have been at responding to those wedge issues and moving the public towards issues that matter to them generally.
When you say wedge issues, they're issues that people care about. It's not a wedge unless people care about the issues. And the left did it today at Kavanaugh. It was all about abortion, abortion, abortion. You're going to take away our guns. You're going to take away our abortions. So whose wedge issues are we talking about here? I mean, the left started this back at...
I'm talking about...
What?
I want to point out the part in the article where he talks about the Willie Horton ad in 1988. I mean, that's really a fine example of taking something that is an issue
that was first used by Democrats, right? That was first used by Democrats
in that campaign.
That was first used, Tammy. If my memory serves me correct, that was a Democrat move at first, right?
And look, I mean, that's also a presidential campaign. That's not the media. Chuck Todd's point was it was a call for other media to attack this network and particular individuals like yourself, Sean Hannity, and Tucker Carlson, when in fact, I mean, look, wedge issues for them are issues that we all care about that liberals don't want to have be talked about. Like immigration issues, like the direction of health care, I mean, there's financial issues, the economy, those kinds of things are wedge issues. They're all issues matter to all Americans and deserve to be discussed.
You guys, hold on. There was another part. We don't have the full screen, but I'm just going to summarize it. There was a paragraph in the article, because someone sent it to me and circled the part where I was mentioned, because I didn't read the whole thing, but I read most of it. Where it says, well, and these primetime hosts are among the conservative people who make a really good living, or something like that, selling their stuff. We're opinion hosts. I don't pretend to be, I'm not a network anchor and I'm an opinion host. I've been doing this for 20+ years, okay? Since 1996, I was on MSNBC for the first 15 minutes of the network, okay? So this idea that people just popped up. There's one network out there like Fox in all of cable television, and it tends to beat the others. And I love having people who disagree on. I love having Chris on. We love having all of our guests on the left on, or Democrats, because they offer a different perspective. And with that, I'll let Chris sum up.
Look, I love giving a different perspective here. And I think it's very important to have both sides represented. I also think it's important for people to get their media, their news, from a lot of different places with a lot of different opinions. I've always watched Fox. I've always been progressive, but I've always watched Fox a portion of my media diet.
So is
because I think it's important for me to understand how the other side of the aisle thinks. And I think everybody should look at both sides of the aisle.
Fair point. Tammy, Chris, thanks so much.